Humans had 5 senses. Their eyes amplified light and converted it into colors, while their ears picked up vibrations and transformed them into sounds. However, humans surpassed nature. They had another sense that they did not know about. The soul captured nature's designs and turned them into power. That is why people called this power the sixth sense. There was a huge, deep hole in the ground. A boy was hitting stones with a pickaxe. He was tired, and sweat was pouring down his face and body. He finds a piece of relict iron and thinks about how 10 pieces of coal were exchanged for 1 fruit, and whether 1 piece of relict iron was worth 1 fruit. He looked at it closely, lifted it above his head, and thought how beautiful it was. It was Luo, the cave dweller, and he decided to keep the iron for himself and not give it to anyone. He thinks about how he will return home as soon as possible and enjoy the beauty of the iron. Suddenly, someone swears loudly. The blond man was hitting the stones and was unhappy that he had only found 1 small piece. Luo thought about what to do, realizing that someone's family would go hungry. Luo turns around and leaves, saying that he found the iron. Suddenly, he is stopped abruptly and asked what he was hiding. The boy tells Luo that he was joking and calls his friend, drawing out the vowels in his name. This guy was the cave dweller Nicola. Luo asks him not to scare him like that, and he apologizes, saying that he saw everything. The blond guy starts tickling the guy and asks him to show his loot. Luo shows him the iron, and Nicola is surprised and asks if he knows what it is. Nicola says that a long time ago there was a monster on the surface that ate people, called the Iron Man. He says that this iron was its remains, and only Luo thought they were beautiful. Luo indignantly says that they really were beautiful. Nicola hands the piece of metal back to him and frowns, telling him to try not to let anyone find it. Nicola says that there is a severe shortage of resources in the world. They mine coal and this iron, and in return, they are given food. He says that if they find out he kept the iron for himself, they will make him a slave. Luo thinks about it. The boys look up at the sky, which seems so high, especially to them. The man shouts that the sun is on the horizon and orders them to sort the resources while it is still light. Nicola asks his friend if he knows what a tree is, and the other asks him back questioningly. Then the boy asks if he knows what the hoe handle was made of, and the other answers in the negative. He says that a tree is a plant that absorbs sunlight, turned green, and bore fruit. He says that the surface was full of things they didn't have, so he wanted to get to the surface. Luo looks at the sky and says that, in his opinion, it was boundless. He says he would like to admire the sky with him someday. A large number of train cars rushed along the tracks. The guy says that they barely made it onto this train, and his friend tells him that he shouldn't have flown in the clouds. The man says loudly and happily that he had a big catch today and is now looking forward to the evening distribution. Another man rushes at him and says that he stole his coal, but he just smiled and told him to keep a closer eye on his catch. The man says that in this place, either he stole or they stole from him, and no one cared about each other. Those around him only confirmed this with their discontent. The boy falls before the man and asks him to return the coal, as he has a hungry daughter, but the man only sympathizes with him. The boy says that there were some more scuffles, and his friend says that all adults are scum. Luo asks him not to generalize, and finds a reason for each adult. Nicola asks how he knows this, and Luo replies that it's as if he can hear them. Luo says that sometimes when someone is angry, he gets an unpleasant feeling. The blond guy asks what was so special about it, when suddenly the guys hear screams. A guy is beating a man and shouting that it belonged to his family. People around him ask how he can prove it and tell him to stop causing trouble. The blond man remained silent, and Luo thoughtfully said that the reason for everything was family. Nicola turns to the guy. He asks if he is sad that he didn't have a family, and then apologizes for his question. Luo says he doesn't know, as he has always been alone, and as long as Nicola was with him, he was fine. The blond man smiles, and says that he even feels a little uncomfortable. Luo asks him to tell him more, but he refuses. Then Nicola gives in and says that, apart from people, there is also livestock on the surface. Luo is surprised, but his friend confirms his words. Nicola says that, according to rumors, the meat of the livestock was very tasty. Luo is completely amazed by this and notes that the guy knows a lot. Luo suggests that they go to the surface together, and the blond man agrees with a smile. The men, hearing their words, begin to laugh at them. The man tells Nicola that it was probably difficult for him to play along with the delusion, and that the boy, who grew up without parents, probably did not understand his situation. Nicola tells the man that he couldn't even feed himself without stealing from others, and that it's better to grow up without parents than to grow up like him. He says that the man is getting fatter and fatter, and if he wants to eat, he should eat his own belly. Their argument is interrupted, and they are informed of the arrival of the Earthling. The man says that they will die from the fall, and even if they manage to climb up, the Iron Man will eat them. Nicola responds sharply. A human named Ibs, who was a bishop, says it's time to hand out the stuff. He notices how noisy it was and gets mad at them. Nicola says he sees a free spot and says goodbye to Luo. The boy calmed himself mentally and said that no one would find out. The boys counted the coal brought by the boy. They counted to 10, and Ibs handed him an apple. Suddenly, Ibs stops the boy and says that he smells the scent of an Iron Man on him, or maybe it just seemed that way to him. The boy began to worry, and the man noticed it. Luo said that he had nothing, and the man took him at his word. He says he didn't even ask him if he had anything. Ibs kicks the boy hard in the stomach. The boy falls to the ground, and a piece of metal is visible in his pocket. People curiously ask what is going on. Ibs kicks the boy again, and the piece of metal flies out of his pocket. The crowd fearfully says that he stole it. Nicola is immediately alarmed, and Ibs says that he underestimated them. The man begins to insult him and asks him how he dares to oppose them. He says he will teach him a lesson. He says that their ancestor, who built the country of Earthlings, gave them power. Power that can interfere with the natural order of things, a sixth sense. He says he sends flames through his nerve pathways and manipulates them. He says that Earthlings give trash jobs and food, but they still don't appreciate it, so he decides to punish him. Ibs directs the fire at the guy, who looks at the fire in shock. Suddenly, Nicola appears next to him. He covers the guy with himself and starts burning instead of Luo. The boy screams and calls for Nicola. He asks why he did that. Ibs says that the sixth sense allows one to gain strength by knowing its essence with one's soul. He says he will show him the full power of fire. Ibs says that fire was the essence and presses harder on Nicola with fire. The man says that the useless ones should have been burned and the cavemen were only supposed to work. He says that the punishment of one was an example to the others, and he repeats again about their work. Nicola screams and asks him to stop. Ibs is surprised to notice that he accidentally burned the blonde man, but he is struck by the fact that he is still alive. Ibs stood pensively. Then he looked at the people who were picking fruit. The man burns all the fruit and says that it will become their collective responsibility. The people are horrified. Nicola lay there, completely burned, and Luo, barely conscious, called out to him. After a while, he suddenly came to and found his hands tied. He found himself in a cave. Someone approached him. It was the men, and they all began to beat him because he had burned all the fruit. The man tells the boy that they were a fallen people who had no right to live on the surface, but nevertheless he worked to feed his family. They tell him that since he has become a burden, he should die, and decide to blow up the cave. They light the dynamite and leave it in the cave. Luo utters the name of Nicola. The cave explodes, and the boy is torn apart. He thought about how he could no longer feel his body, and his right arm was gone. He thought sadly that now he would not be able to work with Nicola. He thought about where he had gone wrong. Perhaps his very birth had been a mistake. Suddenly, something strange happens to the boy. He found himself facing some kind of monster. The boy looked at the monster in horror and realized that it was an Iron Man. The monster approached the boy and then grabbed him. Luo tells him that he was already dead, so he asks to be eaten. The monster says that the boy was also lonely, and he understood him perfectly. Luo, with his surviving hand, strokes the monster and says that he is lonely too. The monster swallows the boy. Suddenly, something strange happens to the boy's body. He was in pain, and something was bursting out of his body. His arm began to heal completely. The boy breaks free from the Iron Man, completely restored, and says that he no longer feels any pain. He looks at his restored hand and sees that it is iron. He says in surprise that he is alive. The boy cries, realizing that he is the only one left alive. The boy gained an ominous power, and having learned it with his soul, he honed his senses. Over the course of 7 years, he completely mastered it, devouring ancient iron. As a result, the boy from the small cave returns to the vast underground depths. This boy has become a young man and promises himself that he will definitely reach the surface. His iron has turned into steel. Ibs tells the girl to stop and tells her that 10 obsidians were needed. The girl calls him a mustache and asks him not to be greedy. Ibs kicks her and is about to punish her with his fire. Suddenly, he notices someone running towards him. Ibs asks who he is and if he has come for death, but the people do not recognize the boy, even though he looks familiar to them. Luo asks where Nicola is, and Ibs remembers him. He asks if he has spent 7 useless years. Luo tells the girl to leave. Looking at Ibs, he says that the fire was hot. Feeling insulted, Ibs promises the guy that he won't leave even his bones behind. He spews out a huge amount of flame, and the men watch in shock. Luo summons his sixth sense and, transforming into metal, clenches his hand into a fist. The guy runs through the fire toward the man. He hits him with all his might. Looking ominously at Ibsa, he says that iron does not burn. His soul sensed nature's craft and turned it into power. Luo hits Ibs again, and his subordinates watch in shock. One of them asks the guy if he understands what a crime this was. They began to fuss, and one of them orders the others to prepare their weapons. The men asked who he was. They point their guns at the guy and prepare to shoot. The bullets hit the guy but do no harm. Luo says it only hurt. The bullet ricochets off the guy, and the Earthlings ask in surprise what that was. The people began to run away in fear, and the guy tells the Earthlings that they are using strange weapons. He tells them to attack and says that retribution awaits them all. He engages in combat with the Earthlings. With one move, the guy breaks the guy's guns. He tells them that they killed his friend and tells them that they were too naive to take him on with guns. One of the guys pulls out a machine gun and starts shooting at the guy. Bullets and stones fly at the guy, but it doesn't bother him. Luo attacks and beats up two of the guys. One of the Earthlings asks who he is and begins to humiliate him, saying that he is trash. Luo punches him in the face. The Earthlings ask in surprise how he withstood the gun. One of them says that the guy was the lowest rank in their clan and orders everyone to keep their distance. Ibs, holding a gun over the girl the guy saved at the beginning, says that maybe the guy had a sixth sense. He tells Luo not to move or he'll kill her. The men are shocked and say that this cannot be, while Luo yells at Ibs not to touch the girl. Ibs says that in rare cases, the sixth sense appears even among scum, and he was surprised by this. The sixth sense, which was immune to fire and bullets, was not mentioned in the history of Earthlings. Ibs asks if he is made of iron, and his partners immediately grab their guns and exclaim in horror. He says that the only thing he could say with certainty was that the flames were the strongest sixth sense. Ibs directs a huge, powerful pillar of fire at him, and his companions scream that it will hit them too. Luo disappears into the fire. Then his hand breaks through the fire and grabs the man. The girl is freed and runs away, and Luo says that he will never forgive the bishop. Ibs tells him not to touch him, and then starts screaming nonstop, calling the guy trash who doesn't dare touch him. He calls him a worm who was just getting in the way, while Nicola could have been of some use to them. Luo grabs the man and asks if Nicola is alive, but he does not give the guy a direct answer. The young man gets angry and asks what he did to his friend. Ibs smiles and asks if he wants him to repeat it, then begins to describe what he felt when Nicola's flesh was burning. He continues to recount all the details, thereby infuriating Luo. The young man begins to beat the bishop. He tells him that the blow was for oppressing all the cave dwellers and the girl. The bishop notices the young man's strength. He says he sympathizes with him, as the world will not accept him. Luo starts beating him again and says it was for Nicola. Ibs says that by the will of fate, the young man was useful to them. Luo asks him not to talk nonsense and says that he will not forgive him even after death. Luo says he will make him pay for everything. Ibs smiles and says that he didn't have the guts to kill him, and the guy says that he was right, and that's why he shouldn't die. Luo leaves, abandoning the bishop. He walks through the streets of their cave town. The girls ask each other if they have ever seen the guy here before, but no one has. Luo notices how much the town has changed, then looks for his house, and when he sees one street, he begins to remember it. He comes to his house, which has been destroyed. Luo enters the ruins and is surprised at how cramped it is. Then he remembers that he has grown up. He understood that someone had destroyed his house. Memories of him and Nicola began to flash through his mind. Suddenly, it seemed to him that Nicola had come to him and greeted him. He finds Nicola's house and opens the door. He stands on the threshold of the house and then clenches his fists. Luo grabs his head and says that he thought Ibs had killed Nicola, but apparently he was wrong. He begins to replay that day in his mind and remembers his friend's words. The young man thinks that Nicola was used as a slave and says that he will never forgive him for that. He realizes that Nicola was most likely on the surface and decides to destroy anyone who stands in his way. Suddenly, the men with pickaxes start shouting that the Iron Man was in the hut and that he had come to devour them all. The guy looks at them in confusion. When they see Luo, they say that it was just a man. Another man insists that it was the Iron Man and says that he cannot defeat them. They told him to get lost and called him a demon. The guy remembers the day when everyone accused him and blew him up. Luo asks them to calm down and says he doesn't eat people. He says he will leave soon and mentally remarks that he has completely forgotten the reason why he was blown up. He leaves, telling himself that he really is a failure. The young man is very tired. The girl he saved, seeing him, tells her father that it was him. Her father anxiously asks her what she was doing there. Luo was walking down the street, and the girl looked at him questioningly. The girl's father recognizes the young man and calls him over. Luo also recognizes the man as the same guy who cried out in pain that because of him, all the food was burned. He falls to his knees in front of Luo and begins to apologize and explain why he did what he did. He asks him if he came for revenge. This is the same man who beat up the fat blonde man who stole his coal. Luo asks him to stand up and says that he knows about his good nature. The girl helps her father to his feet. Once inside the man's house, he gives his daughter a whole fruit and asks the young man if he really came for revenge. The young man confirms this and says that he came to his house. The man thanks Luo for saving his daughter. He says he should have said so right away. The man asks him what he wanted to ask, and the boy asks about Nicola. Lena was also curious. Her father says that the boy always stood out, and on that day, the earthling grabbed him. He then said that Nicola would become their strongest weapon. He says he didn't hear anything else, and the guy starts thinking about how they could use Nicola. Lena jumps up and says that Luo was incredible, saying that he saved her. The man asks her to rest, but the girl didn't listen to him and continued to tell all the details of what had happened there. After getting dressed, Luo thanks the man for the clothes and food. The man tells him that it was an apology and a thank you. Luo says that it was his fault, because he caused them a lot of trouble, and for that, he apologizes to them. The man asked him to listen carefully and said that from his years of experience, he had come to one conclusion. He says that their world was crazy. He was upset that because of their lack of a sixth sense, they were despised and oppressed. He says that he always gives Lena half a piece of fruit, but this time he gave her a whole one, but their bodies still cannot be satisfied with it. Every time he saw his daughter hungry, he felt miserable. He asks Luo to go upstairs and punish them all. Luo agrees. Later, Lena asks what kind of bag the guy left them, and he says it was a souvenir. The man and his daughter are interested, but decide to look at it later. Luo leaves them. The guy sits down, then jumps with all his might and cracks the ground. The man looks at him in shock and tells his daughter that the guy flew right away. He shouts to him that he will succeed. He says again that he will definitely succeed. As he leaves, Luo gives a thumbs up and smiles. Lena enthusiastically calls her father. They shout in shock, and the guy says it's time for him to go. The bag Luo left behind was filled with iron. Someone was chasing a girl who was running at full speed and swearing. She asks herself if it was really that valuable. The guy climbed up with all his might. Looking down, he saw that he had climbed quite high. He realized that if he fell, he would surely die. Although he had been climbing all night, he was still halfway to the surface. He wondered how deep their world was. Suddenly, he noticed trash falling out of some kind of hole. He thinks it's too far for him and is about to jump. The guy jumps with all his might and tries to reach the window. He doesn't reach it and starts to fall. Luo tries to stop his fall with his iron hands. Finally climbing into the sewer, he says that he had time to think about death. He says the smell was terrible. Sniffing more closely, he feels even more disgusted. He says discontentedly that this place was clearly not for humans. Suddenly, something approaches the guy and he catches it, thinking it was trash. Looking closer, he realizes it was a nut. The girl continues to be chased. She asks them to forgive her, but they yell at her that they will not forgive her and will kill her, but she must give them something in return. The girl runs away, and the men start shooting at her. Hiding, the girl says that even if she wanted to return it, she couldn't because she had lost it. The girl's cheek glowed, and the men walked around nearby looking for her. She decides to go back to where she might have dropped it. She approaches the trash can and notices that there is not much trash. Suddenly, Luo emerges from the trash and shouts that the smell is unbearable. The girl is very frightened when she sees him. Luo says that he was recently given clothes, but he has already managed to get them dirty. The girl asks who he is, and the guy introduces himself to her. The guy climbs out of the trash, and the girl asks if he was buried there. The guy explains that he was walking through a tunnel to this place. Suddenly, the guy looks around and asks where he is. The guy looks at the abandoned city with its half-ruined buildings. Luo is surprised to notice that they had a ceiling instead of a sky. The girl asks him if he saw a nut on the way. The guy thinks for a moment, then remembers. He was just about to answer when suddenly a bullet flies past. The men say they have found her, and one of them orders the others not to shoot her in the heart or head. Noticing the guy, they ask him if he is the girl's boyfriend, and the girl tells him that they need to run urgently. The girl ran, and bullets flew after her. She tells the guy that they need to run away as quickly as possible. But the guy didn't move, frowned, and said that there was shooting again. The girl stopped and said she couldn't go on, and turned to Luo. She told him that she had taken some food and they wanted to kill her for it. Receiving no answer, the girl turned around sharply and asked him why he was silent. Seeing that the guy didn't run after her, she thought in horror that he had been shot. She ran back, saying it was all her fault. The girl fell and continued to blame herself. She ran on, trying to catch up with the boy. Luo beat the men with his iron fists. He scolds them and says he asked them not to ruin their clothes. The girl clutches her head. She doesn't know what to say, and the guy apologizes and asks her if he should have beaten them. However, the girl excitedly asks if he is hurt. The guy says no, and the girl breathes a sigh of relief. Suddenly, she sees bullet holes in his jacket. Luo tells her that he won't die from the bullets, that he just has ringing in his ears. The girl is in shock. The guy puts her on his back and walks through the streets of the city. As it turns out, the civil police are chasing them. The girl says she hates them, and the mere thought of it makes her furious. She kicks and screams in anger, and the guy asks her to stop. He tells her to go herself since she was so feisty. He asks her what her name is. The girl remains silent, and the guy breaks the silence by asking where they should go next. She says that means he wants to know more about this place. In that case, she decides to take charge. The girl explains that this is where criminals from the surface are kept. The city was called the City of Ashes. The guy notices that it was not the surface. The girl jumps off the guy and says that everyone here was a criminal. The guy asks if she was a criminal too, but the girl avoids giving a direct answer and says that she just stole a nut. Someone approaches them, telling the girl to repeat her words, but the girl says that it's the end for them. It was the deputy chief. He asks her if she understands what she has done and tells her to tell him what happened to him. The girl didn't know what to say, and the man ordered her to spare him the excuses. He grabbed the girl by the head and told her he would give her 3 seconds. However, the man realized that she had lost it. Luo interrupts their conversation and asks them if they are talking about the round red nut. Luo says he ate it. The guys are shocked by his words. The deputy lights a cigarette and says he will kill him. Luo is puzzled, and Simon says that he has been feeling irritated for a long time, but now he feels better. He apologizes for his rudeness and says that now he will kill him. Luo stands tensely. The girl yells at Luo to run, and Simon, spreading smoke around, asks where they are going. He says he won't let them and calls on his 6th sense. The smoke becomes even thicker. Simon hits the guy, but hits his iron arm. He says that he was strong. Luo tries to hit the deputy, but he tells him it was smoke. Striking Luo, he says that the smoke could not be touched. Therefore, he couldn't even defend himself. Luo gathers his strength and kicks him. However, he fails to hit him, only extinguishing his cigarette. Luo is very indignant about this. In a second, Luo is right in front of Simon, who looks at him in surprise. Simon thinks it was beyond comprehension how he got up from that position. But he didn't care. He decided that Luo was too predictable and expected a left punch. However, the guy hits with his right, hitting the man. He is indignant that the young man managed to outsmart him. Suddenly, the man grinned. He says that now he understands his trick, which was to control his body. He compares his technique to a stone at the end of a stick. However, he still didn't understand how Luo did it. Simon admires the young man. However, he says that his soul was empty because the 6th sense is a soul filled with natural craftsmanship. Simon completely surrounds the guy and says that smoke limits visibility, makes the body more mobile, and allows it to penetrate any crack and even the skin. Luo says with pain that he cut him. Simon tells him that he will show his true nature. Then, delivering the final blow, he says that it was the art of war. Later, the girl asks him to wake up, and the guy opens his eyes abruptly and asks where he is. She tells him that they are in prison. Luo says he lost, and the girl says that Simon told them to sit there and not expect an easy death. She starts to cry, and the guy apologizes. The girl tells him discontentedly that she told him to run. The guy asks her where they would have run to, since the girl was too scared to even move. The girl didn't listen to him and blamed him for everything. The guy apologizes to her, but the girl tells him that she is angry because he does not value his life. After all, if he dies, everything will come to an end. Turning away, she asks him to forget her and do whatever he wants if he wants to go to his grave. She says goodbye to him and walks away to the cage. Then she sits down and cries out that she doesn't want to die. Luo says he had a friend who protected him from the Earthling's flames, the same kind of fire as the girl's. He says he was charred and turned to ash. He says that they took him away after that, but he is sure that his friend is alive. Luo says that he will definitely meet Nicola again. The girl looked surprised and then, frowning, approached him. She held out her hand with the flame. The girl directs the flame at the guy, and he asks what she is doing and tells her that he hates fire. The girl asks him to promise that he will live. The guy is engulfed in flames. The girl asked him not to compare her to other scumbags. She says that her flame was life. Luo watched as his body began to heal under the fire, and the girl tells him that she will burn away all his wounds. Someone says that it is the bishops who guide people on the right path, and they decide to expel Ibsa for appearing before them in an inappropriate manner. They say that his fire was death, and it was difficult for them to find a person who could melt the Iron Man. But what can they say about Ibs, since he himself was nearly killed? They say that they spared him, and he immediately ran to them. Ibs shouts that they dare not say such things to him. He says that they will regret it if they think that the guy was just trash. However, the bishops did not want to listen to him. The archbishop says that he can try to justify himself. Ibs says that the boy did not have a sixth sense. He describes what Lua looked like, but they do not understand him. The bishop says that he was an Iron Man in their guise. The other bishop starts saying that the man is talking nonsense and should not be listened to. But Ibs says he was wrong to underestimate the guy. Ibs says that he speaks and understands their language and will most likely be useful to them. Everyone began to condemn him for wanting to take advantage of the Iron Man. The man begs the archbishop not to exclude him, while the others mock his pleas. The archbishop says that the role of garbage incinerator would suit him, as there has been too much of it lately. Ibs says with resignation that his fire was death. Luo screams in pain from the girl's fire. Then he is surprised that he is whole again, and the girl asks him to stop. She explains how she heals him, and is surprised that he likes to be hurt. Luo goes back and bangs his head against the bars. Luo asks the girl to heal him again, and she kicks him in the head and directs the flame. The guy takes a piece of iron from the bars. Luo starts eating it and asks if they are going to leave. The girl agrees with him and asks what he is eating. Then she realizes that the guy has suggested leaving the prison. Luo hits the wall and breaks it. They run away, and the red-haired girl asks Luo if he could have done that more quietly. She screams that they have been found. Two men run after them, saying that the ones who stole the nut have escaped. One of them fires at them. The girl is terrified and asks the guy how he is. They ran straight ahead and saw a dead end in front of them. Luo breaks through the dead end, and they continue running, when suddenly the girl stumbles and falls. Luo picked up the girl and asked her to climb onto his back. 3 more guards appeared in front of them. The girl wonders if he can handle them and starts to suggest getting off. But the guy makes a sharp turn, dodging the attack. The girl says in surprise that the guy knows how to run after all, and he tells her that life was above all else. She asks him why he banged his head and made her treat him. The guy says that her flame was very gentle and he couldn't get enough of it. The girl starts telling him to die, and the guy doesn't understand why she wants him to. Suddenly, they accidentally fly out of the building and find themselves in the air at a very high distance from the ground. The young people are in shock. As they fell, the girl screamed, and the guy thought he was going to die. They began to approach the ground. Suddenly, something envelops them. They fell softly to the ground and were surprised to find that they were alive. The girl looked closely and noticed that it was water. The old man who saved them asked if the girl was a witch. The girl also recognized the old man. He says he went out shopping and asks what they do. The girl tells him that a lot has happened to them. A little later, a dish is fried on a skillet and then a sauce is prepared on the fire. The finished dish is poured into a saucer and placed on the table. The old man notices that the young man has managed to win the girl over, but she begins to deny it. The old man says he was expecting to hear sweet stories. He puts food in front of the girl, and she says he always gives her the same thing. The old man asks Luo for his opinion of Simon, but the young man only asks who he is. The old man says he is the modest owner of a small restaurant. He tells the guys to eat, and the guy cautiously tries 1 spoonful. He really likes the dish, and starts to eat it with gusto. The girl thanks him for the treat, and starts eating too. She looks at the guy, and is shocked to see that he has bitten off the spoon. The old man slaps the guy hard across the face with a frying pan, and asks him why he ate the spoon. Luo starts coughing right on the girl, and she hits him too. The old man uses his 6th sense, which was oil, and envelops him with it. The guy hangs in the air, and the old man tells him that iron is highly valued because it was difficult to obtain. The girl asks him if he is an Iron Man. Luo stands up, and the old man is surprised that he managed to stay upright. The guy slips and, in order to keep his balance, swings his fists, almost hitting the old man. The old man protects himself with his hand. He notices the boy's monstrous strength and asks what kind of power he possesses. The girl asks them to stop swinging their fists. Luo, lying on the floor, says that he can't reach the surface like this. The girl is surprised, and the old man thinks. He says he is overcome with nostalgia and calls the young man outside. He leads the young man to a log that is standing on 4 eggs. The old man says that the guy must split the log without breaking the eggs, and forbids him to use his sixth sense. He gives the young man an axe and tells him that he must learn to control his strength. Then he says that the young man will have to work off every egg he breaks. Luo stops him, reminding him that he wanted to talk about the surface, but the old man tells him that it is too early for that, as he will not be able to understand even a tenth of the problems. He says that if he can't handle this task, he won't be able to handle Simon either. Closing the door behind him, he voices his doubts loudly. Luo says he will manage. The girl asks the old man where Luo is, and he says that the boy is burning with enthusiasm. She thanks him for the food, and the old man turns to her. He says that memory was a place, tastes, smells. Memory responded to a wide variety of sensations. The girl is silent, and the old man notices that she and Luo have been through a lot. He asks her if she is still unable to remember anything. Luo hit the logs one after another, but the eggs still broke. The guy falls to his knees and says that it was useless, because the eggs were so delicate that they broke from the weight of the log alone. He gets angry and wonders what he is doing. Suddenly, looking straight ahead, he sees the building from which they fell. Then he notices a hole in the ceiling and thinks it might be worth trying to climb into it. Suddenly, the old man scares him by saying out loud that he is not succeeding. He says that the guy has ruined a lot of eggs again, and Luo says that it was pointless. The old man says that the eggs were not ordinary, and that he has never seen a person with a sixth sense as strong as iron. The old man tells him not to make a fool of him, and the boy begins to insist that he had metal. However, the old man still did not believe him. The guy takes an axe and says it's iron, and hits his hand with it. The old man is shocked by this. The girl asks if this is possible, and the old man asks if the guy understands what a sixth sense is, but he just denies it. The old man begins to explain it to him and says that, in short, it was what his heart told him to do. In that case, iron would normally have been impossible. He says that, according to rumors, all the metal was the remains of an Iron Man. The old man did not understand how Luo could like the remains of an Iron Man. The old man says that nevertheless they couldn't do without that iron. A minute later, he tells the guys that the omelet is ready. He offers him some to eat and tells him to cut it. The guy takes a knife and is about to cut it. He says that the knife does not cut, and the men snatch it from the guy's hands and say that he should have cut with the other side of the knife. The old man says that everything about him was unhuman. He begins to instruct him and give him advice. He carefully cuts the omelet, and the girl admires him. Suddenly, Luo asks what the girl is thinking about, and she is embarrassed. The guy says he just wants to understand how it works. The girl shares her thoughts and admits that she doesn't really understand it herself. Later, Luo swings the axe again. He fails again, and the guy grabs his head and says that he doesn't understand what the old man means at all. He repeats many times that it was impossible and throws the axe away. The axe falls blunt side down on the log, and the guy thinks. He remembers the incident with the knife when cutting the omelet. He continues to ponder. It seems to him that all this was connected. The guy lays out the eggs again and places the log on top of them. He ponders that there was something in common between the log and the omelet. Suddenly, Leo understands something, and the old man watching him thinks that he has finally understood that he had to put his soul into the axe. He says that Luo should not just chop it, but do it the same way he did with the omelet, with all his soul. But Luo decides to act quickly, considering this to be the essence of everything. The old man is shocked by him. The guy quickly chops the log with his hand. Luo says that's how it's done, but the old man yells that he didn't understand anything. The log is split, but the eggs aren't broken, just slightly cracked. The red-haired girl sat and cried. Her mother approaches her and asks if she has been fighting again. The girl says that they were laughing at her ears, so she hit one of them. The woman touches her and says that it seems her daughter has grown up. She says that not everyone can admit that they are being bullied. Fire appears in the woman's hands, and she says that she knows that the girl is happy when others are happy, and sad when others are sad. She says she knows perfectly well that her daughter is the kindest person. The woman smiles and tells her not to think about the bad things and to laugh. However, the girl frowns even more. The woman laughs and jokes with her. She says that on this day, 8 years ago, she was born. The woman hands the girl a book and congratulates her on her birthday. The girl asks what it is, and the woman says that her job is to write, so she wrote a book about her experiences. The woman says she would like to read a book written by her daughter. The girl is enveloped in darkness, and the girl's voice is heard saying that she does not want to write about how she was bullied. The girl wakes up, and the old man tells her that it's time to open up and sends her out into the street. Luo wishes the girl good morning, and she asks what he was going to do. The guy points to that very building. He says he will return there and tells her his plan. The girl begins to worry, and the guy reassures her. The girl asks him to be quiet and tells him to move away, as they are attracting attention. An old man watches them, and the young people move away from the crowd. The girl asks what he is doing because he promised her he would cherish her life. The old man says that his grandfather told him about a city created by the church to keep criminals there. Regardless of the crime, the church condemns all criminals and brands them. He says that in order to survive, the criminals created this city. One of them even made his way into this hole. Luo says that no matter what, he wants to climb into the building and get into the hole. The girl sighs and calls him an idiot. They walked through the streets. The girl gave him advice, and the guy nodded in agreement with a dissatisfied look on his face. He thinks to himself that she didn't even introduce herself. He notices that, despite everything, the girl is walking him home. She stops and starts looking for something in a trash can. She finds a bug, and the guy asks if she was looking for it. The girl says no. She says that someday she will find something. They continue walking, and the guy asks her why she was following him. The girl asks who will treat him if he gets hurt, and the guy tells her that the wounds were nothing. The girl calls him a fool. She says she doesn't want to see anyone die and that everyone should cherish their life. She turns into an alley and sees a dead man lying there. The guys standing over the corpse say that the girl saw everything. They recognize her, and the girl calls them murderers. Then Luo appears, and they call him the unbranded boy. Luo tells them that he will not back down because the one he is supposed to fight is waiting for him, and therefore he will not lose to Scum. They immediately start to attack him aggressively, and the guy mentally tells himself to think of them as Simon. They start talking to him rudely and say that no one has ever survived a gunshot. In an instant, Luo punches the three guys in the face. They fly into the wall from his blow, and the guy says that Scum should die. Simon approaches a door, opens it, and enters the room. A man was sitting in the room. They greeted each other. The captain says he was on pins and needles again. Simon asks permission to smoke, and the captain remarks that he wanted to quit. The deputy lights a cigarette without answering, and the captain says he heard that a lot has happened. The man remains silent, and the captain tells him that he has big news from the surface. He says that 5 bishops have gathered in the first diocese. Simon calls them freaks and is surprised that they have all gathered. The captain says that one of them has become an outcast because he failed the cave dweller. Simon is surprised. The man says that the surface is in an uproar because it turns out that the cave dweller had a sixth sense. The deputy does not believe him and says that someone just started a rumor. However, the man tells him that information and fruit in exchange for blood and flesh was their agreement. The captain tells him to return what was stolen by any means necessary. Simon promises to bring him their heads. He hands him the clothes and says that he has come to return the clothes of the guy who ran away. He says that this time he will not let anyone act arbitrarily. The captain holds Luo's outer clothing, which is riddled with bullet holes. The boys stand over the corpse. They look at the brand and think how cruel it was. Luo immediately realized that it was the same brand his grandfather had told him about. He says that they did this to the corpse after shooting her. The girl corrects him and says that it is not a corpse first and foremost, but a person. Luo recalls a conversation between 2 men who talked about finding a corpse. The girl begins to emit fire, thereby bringing Luo's attention back to reality. He grabs her sharply. He offers to try to resurrect her because her fire was life. She says she has never thought about such a thing and is going to try. She tries to bring the girl back to life, to resurrect her. The guy watched all this with hope. In the end, the girl says that she cannot do it. She asks resentfully how she can be a healer. Luo thinks that for a moment he had hoped that if she could resurrect the girl, then perhaps she could resurrect Nicola too. He pushes these thoughts away and tells himself that he must not doubt whether Nicola is alive or not, and that he must continue to believe and fight. He says that this was the meaning of his journey. The girl says that the civil police do not consider them human beings at all. With tears in her eyes, she says that even in this way, you cannot kill people. Fire appears in her hands, and she asks permission to take the girl away. She says she wants to lay her to rest as a human being, as a life. Luo remarks with admiration that the girl's wounds have disappeared. The girl calls the guy and asks his permission, not daring to fully voice her desire. The guy says he gives his permission, and even thinks so himself. The young people sat over the corpse, which was burning with the girl's flames. Luo is surprised by the size of the building and asks how it was built. They finally reached it. The girl asks him if he is sure he is going, and the guy reassures her and says he will be careful. He thanks her and says that many unforgettable things have happened to him. He asks her to pass on his words to her grandfather and asks her not to go, as it was dangerous. He says they will see each other again. The girl watches him leave. At that moment, Simon and another girl from the top floor of the building were watching the boys. The man did not understand what Luo was thinking at all and says that at least he will not have to look for him. The girl asks Simon for permission to go, saying that it was like returning a child to its place. Simon says he is sure she can handle the guy. The girl tells him that he was like a cat on hot bricks. The girl says that the boy had no mark and, like Simon, was probably born in this city. The man asks her not to overdo it. The girl agrees. Her name was Suzori. Luo hits the wall of the building, creating a passage for himself. The girl appears next to him and yells, saying that he promised to be quiet. The guy asks her if she will go with him, and the girl angrily says that she doesn't know anymore, and whatever will be, will be. She screams that they will all die. They walk through the empty building. The guy asks in surprise if this is really a police building. The girl climbs the stairs and yells at Luo to move faster, because she is very scared. The guy agrees with her but wonders why she came. He climbs the stairs and calls them strange. Suddenly, the girl falls down the railing, and the guy tells her to stop fooling around. He calls her crazy, and suddenly the girl falls somewhere. Luo climbs to the second floor and looks down. He asks the girl if she is alive, but only hears her moaning. Luo doesn't understand why the girl followed him. Suddenly, Suzuki approaches him. She says she found him and that he really didn't have a mark. She decides to kill him halfway, as she was sure that the captain himself would want to kill him. The girl strikes the guy sharply. The guy hits her back. A piece of her arm is crushed, and she asks him how he dared to raise his hand against a girl. Luo angrily asks if she is a civilian or a police officer, and says that they have annoyed him so much that everyone wants to kill him. Suzuki says that he is rotten to the core and lightly hits him on the chest. The girl summons her sixth sense, which was coal. The place where the girl hit him with her fist is covered with cracks, like a vase. Luo starts screaming in pain, not understanding what happened. He thinks about how he felt her soul. Luo realizes that she made him feel it. The girl says that he had a good sixth sense. She says that, unlike him, she was called dirty and unfeminine. However, she agrees with this opinion as the coal was indeed dirty. She says that her soul was strong as steel. Whatever she touched, a piece of her soul remained on it. Suzuki says she will infect him with her fragility. Suzuri lunges at Luo. Luo meets his opponent. The girl notices that his sixth sense is quite strong, but there is something else. She says that she has managed to stain his hands after all. She attacks again. Luo fights back. The girl is very delivering blow after blow. Luo feels that his left hand is broken. Suzu laughs and asks why he is so careless, because now he will not be able to defend himself. Her fists contaminate everything with coal, and the infected parts die off. Luo realizes that, at this rate, only ashes will remain of him. He must dodge, but this is not an easy task. The girl corrects him, saying that he should be telling her that. Usually, the outcome is decided after the first blow. She feels that his sixth sense is not for destruction at all. She feels his soul resisting. She decides not to think about it and to continue attacking. The girl strikes his chest, causing cracks to appear on it. Luo brushes her off, but she manages to stain him. He will now hardly be able to use his left arm because it must be hurting badly. Luo strikes back and pierces Suzuri through and through. She is surprised and frightened. The young man strikes again. The girl realizes that half measures won't work here. She has to do something. Suzuri decides to split him in two with one blow. She delivers a powerful blow. At this moment, the girl is running down the corridor, trying to figure out who is catching up with her. The man running after her asks the red-haired girl Simon mentioned not to run away. He asks what she is doing in their hideout, hiding or apologizing for the fruit. She replies that she is sorry for stealing it and asks them to leave her alone, but the man believes that she is not sincere. The girl is sure that they will kill her anyway because they do not consider people to be human beings, and he certainly does not care about her soul. The man assures her that he has no choice. Suddenly, a huge rock flies past her, destroying the path ahead. The girl stops in fear, and at that moment, the man grabs her. The girl demands that he not touch her. The man lifts the edge of her shirt and sees that she has no mark. The girl jumps up and headbutts the man in the stomach. Suzuri and Luo continue their fight. The girl is very surprised and tells the young man that no one would have thought that there were people like him in the city. She is facing a person who is capable of defying her sixth sense. She asks him who he is. The young man replies that his name is Luo and that he is human. The girl says that she is also human and that her name is Suzuri. She lunges at Luo, hoping that the next blow will be the last. Luo blocks the blow, saying he has no idea what she is talking about, but iron is not that fragile. Suzuri is defeated. The man who caught up with her asks the girl to stop running. He asks if she doesn't understand what she has done. This fruit is important, including for the activities of the civil police. The captain will definitely not forgive her. The man says his name is Kaijin and asks the girl's name. She looks at him with hatred and remains silent. The man repeats his question because everyone has a name, but the girl is not going to tell her name to a murderer. Kaijin asks how long she intends to pretend that nothing serious has happened and run away from her problems. He asks her what she would do if someone really needed the fruit, if it was someone's treasure or a memento, if losing it would be worse than death for someone. Kaijin says that none of them enjoy killing people, but sometimes it has to be done for the sake of rationality. He asks the girl what she would say in response to this, since all she knows how to do is run away. She realizes that it is time to face her problems. The man says that if you have done something wrong, you should apologize, not run away. The girl is surprised that he is still asking questions. She shouts that killing people cannot be right, that life must mean nothing to them. The man replies that this is different and asks her to stop changing the subject in an attempt to run away again. If she has any complaints, she should express them directly to the captain, and he finds it puzzling why she's behaving this way. At that moment, Luo strikes him. The girl sees the young man throw Kaijin aside with another blow. He asks who this disgusting man is, then runs up to the girl and asks how she is, but she loses consciousness. Suzuri leaves. She is surprised that she lost. She has suffered great losses, and it will take a long time to heal. Simon will definitely be angry because she rushed headlong into battle with complete confidence, but in the end, she was defeated. She is quite upset. At this moment, someone reports to Simon that he saw with his own eyes that Suzuri has a huge hole in her stomach. Simon asks the gathered people not to get involved in the fight. The people are against it. One of them asks why, because with a crowd of them, they will definitely kill him. Simon asks them to be quiet and says they don't stand a chance. He asks the people to disperse and go smoke somewhere else. He leaves, and the people are surprised because Simon unexpectedly gathered them all together, and now he is dismissing them. Are they really so hopeless? The captain comes out to them. The people greet him. He realizes that Simon told them to do this. He asks them to stop and holds out an object. He explains that it is the boy's t-shirt, 3 bullet holes and marks from Simon's cuts. Nevertheless, Suzuri lost. He asks them if they think their pistols are nothing more than toys in this case. He asks someone to explain what a brand is. The person explains that it seals the sixth sense and that it is a scar from a burn caused by a punishing bullet. The captain asks what will happen if the sixth sense is used. The man explains that the bullet will react to it and explode inside the body, turning the person to ash. The captain praises him and asks everyone to applaud the speaker. He says that whoever uses the sixth sense is not a resident of the city of ashes, but simply ashes. That is Simon's idea, and it is worth considering. The captain calls Simon. At this time, he reflects on what has happened and prepares for battle. Luo carries the girl in his arms. She calls for her mother. They climb the stairs. They look around from above and realize that they have climbed very high. The girl comes to her senses and asks where she is and why she is here. She starts to cry. Luo asks her what's wrong. She explains that she wants to go home. She wants to go back to her mother. She is tired. There's a lot of killing and death here. She is scared, and she can't take it anymore. Luo asks her to tell him about herself. The girl says she doesn't remember anything, not where she lived, nor how she got here. She doesn't even remember her name. Luo reminds her that she just mentioned her mother, but the girl says that's the only thing she hasn't forgotten. She hasn't forgotten that she loved her mother very much. That's all she remembers. She wants her mother to praise her again and wants to try writing a book, but she can't remember her face and has even lost the book she was given for her birthday. She also spoke rudely to her, but never apologized. And now she has lost everything. The girl sniffs. Luo asks if she really thinks so. Perhaps she has lost her memory and her belongings. He notices blood on his leg. The young man says that the most important thing is that she is alive. The girl thinks about how he dragged her here with such injuries. He knows nothing about her, but she must have some kind of purpose. In that case, he takes her hand and asks her to come with him. At that moment, Simon attacks him. The girl hides behind a corner in fear. Simon asks Luo why he came here. Luo says just because. In fact, he has business upstairs and asks Simon to take him there. Simon declares that there will be no more leniency. He is the deputy captain of the civil police, Simon, and now the young man will learn his wrath. Simon is enveloped in smoke. A serious fight breaks out between them. They strike each other, causing fire and stones to fly. The battle continues. Luo flies up from Simon's blow. Simon explains that smoke always rises, so he led it to the roof as requested. Simon explains that Suzu's soul penetrates the contaminated parts, but in his case, it is slightly different. Smoke is everywhere. Luo is exhausted, wounded, and unable to wrap his wounds with iron. Simon says that this is power. He does not fill his head with anything unnecessary. He lives with only one thought and desire to become stronger. He is sure that Luo has no chance. He asks him to stand up because he wants to crush him in a direct confrontation. He asks Luo to attack. Luo stands up, but the smoke penetrates every crack, even the smallest gaps in his skin, even down to his bones. Simon takes out an axe and says that the captain wants to cut off his head. Luo cannot become iron because of the pain. Simon grabs a sword and tries to cut off Luo's head, but the sword breaks. A golden flame bursts from the young man's chest. Simon does not understand where it came from. It is the first time he has seen someone put their soul into something like this. At that moment, a girl runs up to them and says she has remembered. She remembers the continuation of the only fragment she has never forgotten. She remembers sitting with her mother in the forest under a tree, telling her mother that she doesn't want to write about how she was bullied. After all, she has the same ears as her mother, and because of them, she is being bullied, which means that she is also being bullied. Her mother says that they are not strange. She asks the girl not to bang her head anymore. She asks if she will be able to make up with them tomorrow. The girl assures her that she will. Her mother believes that everything will be fine because her smile is as dazzling as the sun. She asks her to get up, reaches out her hand, and calls her by name. Then she wiped away her tears and said she understood. And now she remembered it. These are memories from the surface. That person is right. She must stop running away from problems. She must look them in the eye. She needed a reason to stop. It may be painful, scary, or even deadly, but after overcoming all the problems, happiness will surely await her in the end. That's what life is all about, and she always wanted to cheer up. The girl shouts that her name is Lavi. She runs to Luo and asks him to take her to the surface. Luo is surprised. Simon is also surprised to see the red-haired girl in front of him. Lavi rushes to Luo and tells him that she already said that her flame heals, but it will be very painful. The young man declares that he can handle it. Pain is not a problem for him. Somewhere in the building, the group is sitting at a table. Kaijin announces that he has lost his handkerchief. He is upset that the place is a mess and that they need to clean up and find the handkerchief. Simon objects, saying that they haven't even finished eating, and Suzori wonders why he needs the handkerchief. The man says that it is very important to him and must be somewhere here. The captain suggests that Kaijin is simply careless, but he thinks that's out of the question, as he personally embroidered a flower on it, and it's his favorite handkerchief. Simon and the girl laugh. Kaijin gets angry, wondering if no one taught them etiquette, as a mess around them is equivalent to a mess in their souls. Simon warns Kaijin to watch his language because he is being rude to the captain. Kaijin says that this applies to everyone, and even though he is the captain's deputy, it applies to him too. Simon declares that he is actually the most clean-cut person here. Kaijin asks the captain to tell him, and Simon gets angry and asks him to be polite. The captain asks him not to get angry, to smoke a cigarette and calm down. At this moment, the captain shows the handkerchief. Kaijin is delighted that it has been found. The captain asks if it is definitely the same handkerchief. He apologizes for using it to wipe the table. Those sitting at the table freeze. But Kaijin says that if the table is a little cleaner thanks to him, then so be it. Simon does not understand what happened. Why Luo is still standing, because he is sure that his fist reached the young man's heart. But there is no hole in Luo's body, not even a scratch. Simon doesn't understand where the blood came from. Did the young man regenerate, or is it his sixth sense? But then he sees Lav standing next to the young man, and realizes that it is her sixth sense. Luo thanks Lavi. Simon thinks it's incredible that the sixth sense can change depending on the soul invested in it. He is no exception. He has put his whole soul into his sixth sense. Simon attacks again, but his blows miss. Luo strikes back. The blow is accurate and powerful. In response, Simon swings his axe and wounds Luo. One more wrong move and he would have cut him in half. Simon tells Luo that he is not bad. They continue their battle. Luo declares that this won't work anymore. He is getting shorter from the blows. Simon is not going to lose to him in speed. Luo realizes that Lavi's flame is simply incredible. With this flame, he will definitely not die. Simon does not understand what is happening, and who they are anyway. Lavi asks Luo to at least pretend to try to dodge. She doesn't like blood. Luo asks Simon to drop his weapon. He realizes that the red-haired girl is helping the young man. He rushes at her and says she will die first. Luo tries to stand between them, trying to reach Simon's axe. Lavi asks him to think about what he wants to achieve by using this power. This is what it means to put your soul into something. Luo realizes that the command, reach, is wrong and demands that the weapon obey him. The axe ends up in his hands. Simon blames himself, thinking he should have just used his brain a little. Black, shiny limbs, abnormal strength and weight, no matter how you look at it, it's metal. But he is sure that this is nonsense. Only now does he understand the meaning of the old man's words. Luo throws the axe back, returning it to its owner. Simon is struck by the axe. Luo believes that they are now even. Simon remembers how, as a boy, he used to chop trees in the forest. When he got tired, he would stick the axe into a stump. The old man asks Simon if he has given up. The boy says that is impossible, simply unrealistic. The mud balls immediately fall apart. He asks the old man not to ask for the impossible. The man asks if the boy is giving up so quickly. Doesn't he want to become stronger? This is the basis of the basics. The main thing is not to stumble and to continue. He demands that he stop reading. Simon demands to know how to awaken the sixth sense. It's the easiest and fastest way. He begs the man to tell him. The old man says that this is naive, that power is not manifested in the sixth sense, but in the ability to use it. You just have to live, and sooner or later it will awaken on its own. Simon thinks this is nonsense. The old man says that in most cases it is inherited. Simon thinks that nothing could be worse. The old man asks what he desires. Simon says he wants fire. The old man is surprised and asks if he is sure he is the third child. His chances are slim, of course. The man asks what sixth sense his parents had. Simon replies that it was something to do with leaves or trees, he's not sure, but he thinks it's unworthy. Compared to them, fire seems cool and powerful. Moreover, they say that fire is the strongest. The old man asks why he is so eager to become strong. Simon replies that it is obvious because the strongest rule the world. He does not want to be weak. At this time, his father is examining the planted trees at home. Another failure, they are unlikely to sell such trees. His mother says she has a new record, 9 today alone. His father is surprised. He suggests that she has discovered her inner gardener or something like that. His mother laughs in response. She says that they are ordinary people. They can only interfere with natural phenomena in the slightest to suit themselves. Putting their soul into it is something beyond their understanding. The moment the essence appears, they become allies of the bishops. But her father disagrees with her, and he feels her soul in this sprout. She asks if Simon feels the same way. Her father replies that, of course, his sixth sense will undoubtedly awaken. Mom is worried. She knows perfectly well that he is a good child, but lately she has been wondering more and more whether they have raised him right. She asks what will happen if it does not manifest itself in him within 2 years. His father is confident that everything will be fine. By the time he is 10, he will surely discover his kind sixth sense. Simon returns home. He says that he has chopped some wood but has to go back for the rest. His father asks if he heard their conversation. He shows his son the tree sprouts. His father explains that this is his sixth sense. The sight is, of course, more cute than impressive, but thanks to his mother's sixth sense, they grow big. The father tells Simon that plants are very powerful. They sink their roots deep into the ground and spread their leaves wide on the surface, continuing to live and bathe in the sun's rays. Simon asks if there is anything cooler than leaves. His father says that if he searches the country, he will surely find something. Simon goes to get firewood and says that he will look around on the way. His father warns him that sunset is coming soon and asks him not to be late. As Simon leaves, he thinks about how his parents asked if they raised him right, if he is kind. Simon is angry with them. He doesn't need any kindness. With such a weak sixth sense, he's just a laughingstock. He doesn't want to be a coward. He will definitely awaken his sixth sense of fire, but he needs to grasp something with his soul as soon as possible. He reaches his hand into the fire. It occurs to Simon that he must catch the fire. He is very hot, but he is happy because he has grasped something that cannot be grasped. This is a huge step. If he does it every day, he will surely succeed. He has 2 years left before he turns 10, so he should have time. Night falls in the forest, and Simon continues to sit and admire the fire. At this time, Gil is indignant that all the glory goes to Ibs, even though he is not very intelligent. In this case, he cannot sit still either. He calls on everyone to listen. The sixth sense is a divine power inherited from ancestors and the patron god. If it does not manifest itself in a brat before the age of 10, it means that he is a heretic who does not believe in God. He should be treated like trash, so he needs to be sent to the cave dwellers. Anyway, he'll crash to his death from such a height. Further on is the city of the third diocese, so he allows himself to not hold back and, if necessary, to burn. The essence of fire is punishment. After a while, Simon continues to chop wood. He is upset that he is not succeeding. Tomorrow he will be 10, but lately the old man has been nowhere to be seen. He has been doing this for 2 years, but he still doesn't understand anything, and he has accumulated many questions for him. He sees that the sun has almost set, it's time to take the wood and go home, but he doesn't want to go there. At this time, his mother and father are sitting at the table at home. They are discussing what they talked about earlier. Tomorrow, they will definitely go to the bishop. His father says that if they had the fruit of the bishop's tree, there would still be hope. His mother says that these are just rumors. His father does not know what to do. Simon returns. His mother asks him if he is hungry and promises to prepare something for him to eat. Simon says he is not hungry. Father asks his son to sit down, but the son does not obey. The father demands that his son sit down. He asks if he understands what day tomorrow is. He clarifies whether Simon understands why everyone must awaken their sixth sense. Simon says he doesn't understand. His father explains that the timber, drinking water, and food in the village where he lives are all produced by people with a sixth sense who live in this country. That is why it is so important to become one of them. The father asks Simon to remember that their country is a gathering of deeply religious souls. Simon says he doesn't understand anything and doesn't want to see or hear weaklings at all, and that it's better to die than to remain weak. His father asks if that's why he stopped looking them in the eye. His father asks him to come closer. He notices that his son's bangs have fallen over his eyes and tries to brush them away. Simon demands that his father not touch him. His mother tries to explain that he is still very young, and it is not surprising that he does not understand many things. She wonders if what she is about to do will help. His mother hugs him tightly and apologizes that his parents are weak and not cool at all. She asks him not to worry about his sixth sense. They will try to convince the bishop somehow. She asks Simon not to talk like that anymore, but her son pushes his mother away and runs off. He doesn't understand what's wrong with not liking weak people. Weak people always remain weak and get a weak sixth sense. Sid is in the forest by the fire, and Simon remembers that the old man said the same thing. The form of the soul is reflected in the sixth sense that manifests itself. His soul must be stronger than others. Therefore, he will definitely awaken the fire. Simon tries to convince himself that he is the strongest. But suddenly, the fire slowly dies out. Simon is very cold, and once again he doesn't understand anything. Suddenly, he sees some flashes in the sky in the distance. Simon tries to understand why the sky is so bright. It seems to be coming from his house. Probably his parents decided to throw a party in honor of his 10th birthday. He doesn't understand why they are doing such nonsense. Simon goes home. At this time, near his house, Gil asks the guys if they have ever heard of anyone addressing the bishop directly. They reply that this has never happened. He says he hasn't either. Simon's house is on fire. Screams can be heard from the house, saying that they are not believers, but simply asking for forgiveness. Gil is outraged that they came to the bishop with talk of the fruit of the third bishop's tree. They lied, so they were punished. Gil orders them to burn with all their hearts. This is what his fiery punishment looks like. One of his companions says he heard someone there. Gil is outraged that they are not dead yet. He stokes the fire even more, but he is thinking about something else. Gil asks the guys why he doesn't feel any souls in their fire. They must burn not only the house, but also its inhabitants. His companions are surprised. Do they really have to burn it down with the people inside? Gil is indignant that he has to teach them everything. The flames burn even more fiercely. The house burns down. Gil walks away from the house. Simon sees that it has suddenly grown dark. At an early age, when the soul is forming, the first stage of the formation of the sixth sense begins, manifestation. Most children inherit the sixth sense from their parents. It may differ slightly depending on the child's character, but it still remains similar to that of the parents, although there are sometimes exceptions. For example, if someone messes with a person's natural instincts and soul, it can cause emotional trauma that breaks them. They burn this image into their soul. While the soul is torn apart, environmental factors come into play. Ultimately, the soul forcibly captures the natural craft, and when the child is unable to inherit the strength of their parents, a different sixth sense may awaken. Such exceptions are most unfortunate. They are called forced manifestations. Simon approaches Gil with an axe in his hands. His companions call out to Mr. Gil. They say they were told that the child did not manifest the sixth sense, but suddenly a wind came from somewhere. Gil laughs and says that it is a dead flame, and he is very sorry, as it is a dark ability. Simon asks why they killed his parents and why he did not die. Gil explains that everyone makes mistakes, including him and his parents. He offers to make peace. Simon dissolves into smoke. Gil doesn't understand where he went. At that moment, an axe flies at him. Gil screams in pain. Simon apologizes, saying he didn't mean to. His mother said she would go to the bishop tomorrow. His parents said he was 10, and that was very bad. He doesn't know what to eat for breakfast now. Tomorrow, he has to chop wood, as his grandfather said. Tomorrow, he has to watch the fire and go home, but he doesn't know where to go back to. After all, his house burned down. Gil yells that it makes him mad, and now there is one more sinner. Gil holds a bullet in his hands and asks Simon if he knows what kind of bullet it is. He can't stand sinners. His flame will never forgive a sinful soul, and he has filled this bullet with them. The man admits that he would gladly burn Simon too, but since he apologized, his conscience won't let him take his life. He understands his anger perfectly well. It's very hard for him, so he'll settle for something else. Gil raises the gun to Simon and fires. Simon remembers that his mom and dad were burned. He woke up in an unfamiliar place. Someone informs the deputy captain that some kid is asking to see them. He asks why he is calling him. He hugs a little girl and asks Suzuri not to be afraid. He doesn't know what to do with this kid. Captain Igarashi says that he accidentally fell asleep and wants to know what happened. Simon is standing in front of him, and the old man recognizes him. Simon also recognizes him as the old man who helped him in the forest. The captain asks if they really know each other. The old man replies that something like that. He tells Simon that they haven't seen each other in a long time, and since he is here, it means he has done something wrong. The captain explains that they are not here to play games. Simon asks them for help. He wants to become strong. His mom and dad were burned, and he has no one else to ask, and his sixth sense has awakened. They said something about a dead fire. His new acquaintances are curious. The old man says that it means smoke. He tells Simon that you can't achieve anything in this city with force, and then asks if he is sure that he wants it. Besides, because of the bullet in his chest, he can't use his sixth sense, so he has to face the truth. Simon makes a decision. He decides to pull the bullet out of his chest. The guy asks if he will become stronger than fire if he does so. His new acquaintances are surprised. The old man says he will die that way. Simon pulls out the bullet. He says that everything has burned down, he has nowhere to go, and he simply cannot lose to fire. The old man is surprised and asks to help Simon. His wounds are treated. The old man says that he must start with his soul. He has developed a sixth sense, but that is all. He must feel nature's craft with his soul in order to awaken it. He explains to Simon that the soul listens to nature. The sixth sense yields to skill. A healthy body means a healthy spirit, soul, skill, and body. He must be aware of everything at all costs. Simon does not understand anything that has been said, but the old man says that he will soon understand if he wants to become stronger, but first he must know smoke with his soul. Simon is dissatisfied. He thinks smoke is not cool. Smoke is much weaker than a mighty oak. It is not hot at all, like a flame. But the sixth sense can become anything depending on understanding. The old man tells him not to try to understand with his mind, but with his soul. And then it's all about skill. They use the wisdom passed down from their ancestors, in particular, the names of techniques. Simon asks what that means. The old man says that it is a skill honed to perfection, capable of wounding like the sharpest blade. In other words, by naming your skill, you burn it into your soul and will never forget it. These are techniques capable of killing. Simon trains his skills with the help of the old man. The old man says that the last thing is the body. He must lock all of the above in his physical shell and seal it. He asks Simon if he is even listening. Simon asks the old man to explain more clearly. The old man shouts that he must learn to fight. The techniques will be meaningless if he is weak. Simon begins to practice. He has learned about smoke, honed his skills, and tempered his body, but he cannot understand the soul. What does it mean to feel natural craftsmanship? Isn't smoke just smoke? And how can he love it? No matter what he did, he couldn't grasp the essence of it. An idea came to him. Smoke cannot be touched. All this time, he had only been trying to figure out how to use it. But what if he could become smoke himself? Besides, it sounded pretty cool. He picks up the axe again. The weapon can become an extension of his body. Weapons are the foundation of all power, and this will be his final test. The old man places the log on the raw eggs again. When he first came here, the old man felt compassion rather than surprise. The flames had taken his home and his family. No sooner had he gained strength than everything was sealed away. Simon asks the old man if he remembers what he said about how insignificant smoke is. Now he will prove the opposite. Smoke is invisible, like the rustling of grass, penetrating any crack, like water, elusive, like flame. The old man asks what the essence of smoke is, its hiddenness, its fluidity, or its elusiveness. Simon explains that it is all of these things together. Now his body is smoke. He used to think that his parents were killed because of him, but he is not even to blame for being such a loser. They were killed because they were weak. Simon strikes the log, it splits, but this time the eggs remain intact. Weapons are necessary for battle and victory, and his new weapon is forged in the crucible of tragedy to bring about retribution. And its name is the Smoky Fist of Death. Now he demonstrates this weapon to Luo. Tom can see nothing, only pitch darkness. Simon says it's time to act. He disappears. Luo and Lavi do not understand where he has gone. Suddenly, Simon reappears and demands that Luo experience the despair that his smoke brings. He lunges at the young man. Lao finds himself near a burned-down house. He does not understand where he is and does not see Lavi. Suddenly, he sees a person lying under the charred logs. Luo is surprised. Could it be Nicola? He stares at the man lying there. Simon continues to affect Luo with smoke. Luo shouts that he now understands. Simon says that this is what the sixth sense with a soul looks like. Now he has seen his first smoke. His sixth sense is useless. All you can do is become stronger or heavier, nothing more. He tells the defeated Luo that he accidentally gained power, but he himself has no foundation or soul, so he simply cannot be weaker than him. What can be said about a soul when he doesn't even have a heart? He is empty. All he does is rush headlong. He is sure that Luo's words about goals and striving for them sound like childish babbling. He asks Luo to remember that strength will not solve anything here. Luo's consciousness fades, and then he hears someone ask if he has fallen asleep. Lavi asks to beat Simon. She reminds the young man that he was going to the surface. Loa recognizes Lavi, and Simon is surprised to hear about the surface. He pushes Lavi away, saying that she is annoying him. He demands that she extinguish her flame, and then he will allow her to live longer. The girl refuses, and Simon tries to strangle her. He says that her flame angers him the most. Lavi asks Luo why he got so high. She demands that he get up. Luo is back in the past. There are rocks everywhere. Luo is bored. Nicola tells him that he is clumsy as always, which is something you don't hear from him very often. But Luo is unhappy that he digs and digs, and there are only rocks around him. They have to work. Nicola says that it's a sin to complain to someone who has decided to go upstairs. Of course, he is clumsy and unreliable, and taking care of him is a pain, but perhaps only he can enjoy even a life like this. Right now, that's his only weapon. Luo realizes that he's not fighting for the sake of suffering. He is fighting for happiness. Luo stands up. Simon asks him if he is immortal. Luo remembers how surprised Nicola was that he found a piece of relic iron, albeit a small one. Luo sees it for the first time, and is surprised that it shines. Nicola explains that it simply reflects color. Relic iron is a metal, and it is usually strong, heavy, and can shine. Luo looks at it and says, "It's cool, it seems there's more there." They look closely and realize that it's true. Luo says it's like they're digging up light. They work well together. He swings his axe. The swing of his axe causes a storm, which Simon dodges. Clouds of black smoke rise above the building. Luo is going to dig through all the smoke and get Simon. Simon asks why he carries a sharpened weapon if he forbids others to do so. But Lavi is sure that Luo has learned to capture souls. He clearly has some kind of picture in his head. Lao tells Lavi that he has one request. Simon is angry that they have decided to consult with each other. He asks what they are whispering about. He lunges at Luo and strikes him. Lavi is indignant that he is at it again. Luo tries to see him. Black smoke billows around the building. Simon tells Luo that he lacks composure. He must be an idiot if he wanted to dig through the smoke. Simon knocks the axe out of Luo's hands. He takes it for himself, swings it, and cuts off Luo's arm. Lavi asks him if he can handle her. He is sure that he will never lose to her, the damn flame. Luo is not going to give up. His hand grabs Simon's leg. He says he won't let go and asks Lavi to act. Simon remembers his mother's embrace. Before that, Luo asked Lavi to set Simon on fire. But Simon keeps hiding in the smoke, and if Luo lights him up, he won't be able to escape. Luo finally sees him, but Lavi warns him that his wounds may heal. Luo claims that he will deal with him in one blow. He calls his hand to him and rushes after Simon. Now he can see him clearly in the smoke. Simon realizes that naivety and kindness are his strengths. Luo lunges at Simon and pierces him through and through. Simon falls at his feet. Lavi is surprised that Luo has won, but Simon raises his head and says he will not lose. He doesn't care about the young man, but he will never lose to Lavi. Luo admits that Simon was indeed strong, but Lavi refuses to acknowledge his strength. Simon says he will never admit it. Lavi asks if he really enjoys tormenting people so much. All three look at each other with hatred. Suddenly, someone approaches them and asks if they are finished. It is Captain Sisi of the Civil Police. He tells Simon that he is far from his best, asking if he has lost his edge. Luo is surprised. Is this another enemy? Simon recognizes the captain. Suzuri and Kaizen run up to them. The girl can't believe her eyes, and the man asks if Simon now has a hole in his chest. Luo is surprised. There are so many of them. Suzu runs up to Simon, surprised at how much blood he has, and that he is still burning. The captain says that he was following them and would not have thought that anyone capable of defeating Simon would remain here. He asks Luo if he wants to continue fighting him now. Luo looks at him intently. The captain asks what he is staring at. Luo replies that he doesn't care about him and has no intention of dying here. He calls Lobby to come with him. Kaijin yells at the captain that he needs to know. He reports that this girl has no mark. Suzu asks how he knows. She may be an enemy, but that doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants. The man says it's not his fault. She was running around like a headless chicken. She should be grateful he didn't burn her with his heat ray. The girl punches him in the nose and says he's punished. It hurts, and it's bleeding. The captain asks Lavi if she can patch Simon up with her flame. She replies that she doesn't know because the wound is too severe. But the captain warns her that she has no choice, otherwise they will go after him. The captain says that he is clearly not a failure, since he was able to beat up his deputy like that. Simon is angry. Luo sees that he is gone. The captain hugs Lavi, and Luo says that they are very good, and the young man is quite muscular. Luo demands that he not touch him, but the captain declares that he must be punished nonetheless. He grabs the girl and asks if she has forgotten that she stole his fruit, his embodiment. Luo tries to strike him, but the captain advises him to be an obedient boy. He uses his sixth sense and demands that Luo rest. Luo falls. The fruit contained a particle of the soul of the third, somewhat insane bishop. It is a very rare thing, more valuable than 100 lives of the local population. To obtain even one is quite an achievement. Luo admits that he ate it. He asks the captain if he will kill him for it. The captain is surprised that he is conscious. Levi asks his companion to be quiet. She declares that she is to blame for everything. The captain is surprised that she is brave enough and asks if Simon is still alive. Luo stands up and says he will fight him. The captain is surprised. He is facing a special flame and iron. He decides that they will become guardians of order and that refusal is not an option. Lobby refuses to join the killers, and Luo shouts that he wants to get to the surface. The captain laughs and says that they would rather die. Luo repeats himself and demands that the captain try to kill him. The captain says that it will take some effort, but what about the girl? Luo steps forward and says he will protect her. The captain laughs and asks how he will do that. Luo promises to simply beat him up, and the captain says that even though he can't keep up with him, he will break his neck before he even notices. But Luo insists that he won't let that happen and will crush his hand. The captain says he has another one and asks what he will do with it. He asks Luo why he doesn't just abandon the girl and run away alone. The chances are better that way. Not by much, but still. Luo refuses. He says that Lavi is his comrade and he won't go anywhere without her. The captain thinks for a moment and asks if he really wants to go to the surface. Luo doesn't answer. The captain asks again, is he deaf? And asks once more if he really wants to go to the surface. Luo doesn't know how to answer. Simon asks the captain why he is even asking. They stole their fruit and deserve punishment. The boy is fine, but the girl is useless. Kuduri warns Simon that he must not move. The captain explains that this is how it is. They will get what they deserve if they don't listen. But he is still alive only thanks to her. They will no longer have to pay for treatment. It's a win-win situation. He tells Luo that he is the last missing piece of the puzzle in the civil police ranks. Kuzuri disagrees. The girl reminds him that he left a hole in her stomach. He is a sworn enemy who deserves punishment. That's why the girl is fine. But why do they need the boy? Simon demands that she not repeat after him. The girl asks the captain what he has in mind. Sometime later, they are sitting in a room having lunch. The captain asks them if they know anything about the Iron Man. Luo says he does. Simon demands that he take his elbow off the table in the captain's presence and treat him politely. The captain explains that there are 4 religious communities on the surface. Each of them uses the Iron Man as a tool in its own way. Alone, even with a sixth sense, a person is no match for him. He will use it against them, and they will be finished. Levi clarifies what that means for us. Kaijin says that their goal is to bypass all religious cults and kill all 4 archbishops. And that's where their exit will be. Lobby clarifies, where here, the captain says they will become their weapons. More precisely, the girl is a first aid kit, and the metal boy is a weapon. They will be their pawns. Luo declares that he refuses. Lavi demands that he stop talking nonsense and not make decisions for them. What archbishops? They are the killers themselves. They want to drag others into it, pitting people against each other. They are the only villains here. The captain says that there are those who are not meant to live, their families will mourn. Lavi disagrees. But the captain explains that she will save, not kill. People die anyway, from old age, illness, or in conflicts. But when conflicts begin, bloodshed is inevitable. She can save anyone except sworn enemies. So they have to choose, die here and now, or let them help them. He repeats the task to them once more. The metal boy is their weapon. His main mission is to destroy and think about nothing. The fiery girl is their savior, nothing complicated. But for this, he will forgive them for the fruit. Luo says it's better than just dying. The captain adds that he will also get to the surface. Luo agrees. The captain says that it's wonderful, and now is the time for reconciliation. He is counting on them. Luo asks what will happen after they defeat the archbishops. The captain says the Kaijin misrepresented their mission. The main goal lies higher, the pontiff. They will kill him and turn the whole country upside down.